right, Raiders, we are now going to move into a lesson on analysis. Syntax, or word order, it's another word for word arrangement, is what you are doing when you think about how words are arranged in a sentence. If we take this sentence here, for example, our class read a very long essay. Since very and long both describe essay. No, they don't. Long describes the essay. Very describes long. All right, so when we try to analyze a sentence, we need to think about who or what is the sentence about, which is the subject. Is this sentence about the essay or about the class? It's about the class, so that word is the subject. So when I diagram, I draw a horizontal line, and I bisect it or divide it with a vertical line. This line has to go all the way through, and my first step is to find the subject and write the subject on top of this horizontal line. My second step is to find the verb. What did the class do? That word is the predicate or the verb. Our class read. So once you find the subject and you find the predicate, the third step is to ask yourself, what? Our class read what? The answer is essay. Therefore, essay is the direct object. The direct object is going to always follow an action verb. So since read is an action verb, the word that answers the question what is going to be called the direct object. Our class read what? An essay. So that's the first three steps of diagramming a sentence or analyzing the syntax of your sentence. Find your subject, find your predicate, ask yourself what, and the word that answers the question what is your direct object. Everything else after that is going to be modifiers. So if it's an adjective, it's going to answer the question which one, what kind, or how many. Any word that modifies a noun and answers these three questions would be called an adjective. And just so you know, the words a, an, and the, it's a special class of adjectives called articles. So which class, which one? Our class. That means our is an adjective. A, very, and long are the only words left. What does A tell me? How many? Like one. So it modifies essay. Is it a very essay? Or is it very long? It's not a very essay. So very must be modifying this word. What kind of essay? Since what kind modifies essay, long must be an adjective modifying that noun. And to what extent is it long? Or how long? Very long. So that's how you diagram a sentence. Find the subject, find the predicate, ask yourself what. So what are the steps to diagramming? I don't know if you can screenshot while the video is going. But I gave you these notes, I thought, before the break. I know I did send them to the copy room because they're on peach paper. But if not, if we don't go back to school this year, then come by 8:38 next year and you can get the notes. Find the predicate. That's just a big word that means the verb. It goes on the right. And then ask yourself, what? If the predicate is an action verb, the answer is the direct object. All right, so if you get that much down, you're getting the important parts of diagramming down, because you really have to understand that much. Now, what if your sentence doesn't have a subject? if you just have read a very long essay, because sometimes I'm reading your work and you have fragments and you've been writing fragments all year and I think you don't know how to fix them. So I'm going to erase this now. How do I tell if I have a fragment or a run-on? Well, a fragment is just as the word sounds. It's not a whole, it's a piece or a portion of something. Hannah Nicole Jones is making an argument about the role. Now I'm adding a bunch of prepositional phrases of African Americans in our country's development. Now that sentence is a lot longer than the previous one. Who or what is this sentence about? Hannah Nicole Jones. So that's my subject. I should really write her name out, but for the sake of time. What is the verb? Is making. That's my predicate. Hannah Nicole Jones is making what? Argument. That's my direct object. In the parentheses, all of these are prepositional phrases. What kind of argument? An argument about the role. What kind of role? The role of African Americans. Which African Americans? Or, you keep asking yourself questions to figure out where to diagram that. When you're diagramming a prepositional phrase, the preposition is going to always be the first word in the phrase. The last word in the phrase is going to always be the object of the preposition. And whatever comes in front of that, of course, is the article or the adjective modifying that word. What kind of role of Americans? Which Americans or what kind of Americans? African Americans? What does in our country's development tell me? It modifies the role. So I would actually diagram that up here, but I'm out of space. In development will go up here. Countries would go down there. All right, so why am I saying that? Because all of this is still one independent clause. And because this is all one independent clause, and it's only one independent clause, that means that this is a simple sentence. Now, sometimes when you're writing, you'll write a complete sentence, and then the next sentence might say something like, if you're writing an ing word like that, realizing that some Americans were not treated fairly, complaining about the mistreatment of blacks, explaining their role in society. If you realize that you're writing and using a lot of ing words, but you do not have a helping verb along with that main verb, and you don't have a separate subject, this is an example of a fragment. And that's always a sentence structure error. The next type of error is a run-on, when you have two independent clauses. Say I have that one sentence. Hannah Nicole Jones is making an argument about the role of African Americans in our country's development. But I don't put that period right there. And I just keep on writing. She begins with the image of a flag. Now, because you don't see a period after development, there used to be one, but when you don't go back and read your own sentences and you don't realize that you have to have an end mark at the end of every sentence, and you just write the way you text, you just keep on going on and on, we call that a run-on sentence. Because this independent clause, which should have stopped right here, is running on into this next independent clause. That is also a serious sentence structure issue. All right, so when we talk about syntax and word arrangements, it's important that, first of all, you know when you're writing a complete sentence and when you're not. And it's important to know that you have an incomplete thought if you're writing a fragment, and that you need to go back and insert end marks if you're writing run-ons. All right, I think that's enough for right now. We've talked about simple sentences, we talked about fragments, we've talked about run-ons. All right, Ariana, tell me, how much time do we have?
11 minutes and 55 seconds.
All right, so I'm going to make a new video.